Hey, super fans of the Freedom Fries Real Estate Podcast. Welcome to episode 2. Thanks for joining Mike and I tonight. We have a special guest who I have a particular affinity for. He's actually my son, Will Nifakos, 19-year-old real estate agent and investor extraordinaire. So we're really excited to hear a little bit about Will's story and his journey into real estate, adulthood, life, all kinds of topics. So super excited about that. Mike, how's it going?
Yeah, what's up, party people? How we doing? Super excited to have Will on the show today. Obviously, a super close relationship with Spiros, but I'm super excited to get to know Will a little bit better. I've heard all the great things through his dad and all the great accomplishments. So why don't we dive into it a little bit here? Will, tell the people who you are. Tell them what your background is, why you chose real estate. We're excited to learn.
All right. First of all, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I'm super excited. This is like a big dream of mine. Um, I'd say investor extraordinaire is a bit of a generous thing to say about me. I definitely won't have too much to offer on that front, considering I have zero investments right now. But I would say aspiring investor is a better one. But anyways, about me, 19 years old. I have my real estate license in Florida. I real estate because, to be honest, the low barrier of entry. I've always been I've always been a go-getter. I like doing big things, and sometimes age can be not an excuse, but it can be a limiting factor in what you can and can't do. And real estate's one of those things where people always say the barrier of entry is way too low, which I tend to agree with, but I can't complain because it got me in. Anyone can take a course and pass a test. Um, so yeah, that's why real estate. And I also like the commission-based pay structure. I can't say I got into it for like some big sentimental reason that is super special to me. It was basically about the money, and that's something I want to talk about today is like where my head was at before I got into real estate and where it's at now, and its process in like changing my mindset. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'll have to offer in terms of that. So that's me.
That's cool. That's cool. Thanks, Will. So, you know, um, I've had 19 years of experience with Will, right? Because I was there from the start. And I'll tell you, super humble dude, very um, not wanting to pat himself on the back, at least publicly. Now when he's at home, that's a different story. Right?
Yeah.
When he's at home, he's like,
Oh, he's the big man on campus when he's home.
Yeah.
he is the man. But
That's
but I'll
awesome.
tell you what, just and I know I'm his dad and I'm biased, but no joke, super solid human being with a great heart and just a love of life and people and achievement, right? So let's jump into that. Well, let's talk about you know let's talk about your early days here in real estate and some of the things that you're learning. And I think for our listeners, right? So Will wasn't in the military. That's not why he's here. Will's not exactly an investor yet. That's not why he's here. But there's some things that Will has shared with me, right? Um, and at home that I think are just like pearls of wisdom, right? From a young person that all of us need to hear. So, Will, I want to ask you, like, tell me when in your life was the turning point that turned you from a young kid into a man with goals and aspirations and that sort of thing. Tell me how that happened for you.
That is such a good question. I strongly believe that I came into this world and God blessed me with a spirit that I think I got it from you as well. That is like, above all else, run from mediocrity. Like, that's biggest fear ever. And that's no hate to anybody, like, but it's just for me, it's not for me. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? What's the point of being here if you're not going to be great? kind of life philosophy, or at least strive for it.
Right.
So I would say there wasn't one event, there wasn't one day where I was like, oh, I'm gonna be great. There wasn't one. It was a culmination of like even when I was a young, just an athlete playing flag football in the third grade or playing basketball at recess, like just blessed by God with this insanely, sometimes too competitive mindset. And I've learned, I'd say my turning point was just how I've learned and matured to leverage that competitive spirit, to not be an annoying kid on a basketball court, but to leverage that and become, I don't even want to say what I've become because I haven't become anything yet, but I will tell you right now, like I will tell things on this podcast that if you do them properly and you do them with discipline, like you will be successful in any front, anything. And I'm so confident saying that because I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in other people's lives. And ever since I was a little kid, like I look up on YouTube inspirational videos. I listen to like I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm smart or wise or anything like that, but I have spent my entire life, I spend hours every day listening to people who are smarter and wiser than me, and I draw from their experiences and what they say, and I put them into my own like little philosophy, and it's allowed me to become like not wise, but just I can navigate things, you know what I mean? Like I can, like I said, I have this plan that I kind of wrote out, and it is a recipe for success. Like no matter which way you flip it, it's undeniable success. And it takes time, which is why I haven't struck it rich yet, because I'm sure people listening are like, "Oh, if you have this super sick like recipe for success, why are you in your closet right now?" Um, my answer to that is being successful is simple, but it is by no means easy, and it will
Mhm.
take a lot of tears, blood, sweat. It's not gonna be easy for anybody. Like something my dad and I were talking about the other day was if it was easy, everybody would do it. And it's such a
100%.
cliche, but it's so true because like it's if it were easy, everybody would do it. Everyone would be out there making millions of bucks. Everybody like it's not easy. It's despite like some people will tell you, get rich quick, get six pack abs quick, do all this. No, it's like the first
It
step to
doesn't
success, in
work.
my opinion, is accepting that it's not going to be easy and
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to do it alone. So,
That Will,
like I said,
you. I don't know about you, but you sound like you don't have to, you're not cocky, right? You have, if you ever heard of the saying, you're not cocky, you're confident, right? You've done the
yes.
work, you've done the research, you've done the education, you watch the YouTube videos.
Hmm.
While you're talking, I know you guys are sports guys like me. This is the analogy that was the first thing that popped in my head, right? You can't teach talent, but you can teach hard work. You can teach diving on the ball, on the court for the loose ball, and those are all
Hmm.
the things that Will's doing. He's working hard. He's putting in the time. He's surrounding himself with smarter people who have achieved what he wants to achieve, so he can uh, make his circle successful. Right? You are a product of your environment, and if your environment is successful people, guess what? You're going to become successful eventually. Sooner or later, you're going to pick up those habits. So, I mean, at 19 years old, to have that, that awareness and to have those thoughts running through your mind, you're past people who are way past their prime. So man, that's fantastic. And I mean, if you're listening to this and you are between the age of 19 and 49, you're getting schooled by by a young man right here who's got a really bright future. So that's freaking awesome. Will, I love it. I love it.
I
I
So,
want to
really
touch
Will,
on.
appreciate that.
Yeah, go ahead.
so I was just going to say, so step one is realizing it takes hard work. So what's step two?
Step two of my very large multi-step process. Step two is something I learned from the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And it is to be genuinely appreciative of where you are now, which sounds, it's a lot of people hear that and say, like, oh, because there's a common thing that people say where it's like, oh, you shouldn't settle, never settle, which I totally agree with. But that's different than being genuinely appreciative of where you are now and what got you there. And I think but it needs to be so genuine. Like whenever I do anything, and I'm obviously not perfect at this, and I slip up at my own theory, but whenever I do anything, no matter what it is, no matter what circumstance, I always make sure to show respect, and I make sure to appreciate anybody else involved in what it is. Like if I'm playing a sport or if I'm going on a showing, shadowing someone else, and they're taking time out of the day to teach me, like I'm gonna let them know. I'm gonna be over appreciative to where it's annoying because that's what they'll remember, and that means something to other people. And it's like if you can be genuinely appreciative of where you are now, it sounds bad, and this isn't why I do it, but inadvertently, people will be more willing to help you. And like I said earlier in the show, you can't do it alone. Like no matter, like you said, Mike, I'm one of the most confident people, for
Mm-hmm.
better or for worse, and I know I can't do it alone. So that's definitely something that I value, and that's the second step is being genuinely appreciative of where you are now and making sure everyone around you knows that. Like everyone knows that you're appreciative, and make it personal, make it like write handwritten notes if you have to. Like when I'm at work, I'm on a team that I frankly don't think I deserve to be on because of my age and limited experience. And I'll go into my boss's office as outside of my comfort zone as it is, and I'll literally tell her, I'll say like, I seriously appreciate you having me here. I know like you took a chance on me, and I'm gonna make it pay dividends for you. And like I just let her know I'm like, you made a great decision because obviously I'm gonna think that, but I'm seriously so appreciative that you answered my third email or whatever and took a chance on me. So that's definitely the second step is just being appreciative of what you have. And even if some people are probably listening like I have nothing, I haven't caught a break in years, that's a bunch of BS. Like I know I may not have a leg to stand on because I have caught a break and I have gotten like some things that I don't think I deserve, but if you're breathing and if you have the ability to listen to this podcast, you're more blessed than you know. And I don't even know you, and I could give you 50 reasons why you should be thanking God every day. Like, so don't take what you have for granted and be happy where you are. And then that will inadvertently allow you to level up and strive for that next step. So, second step, there you go.
Nice.
I love it. I mean, those are things I live by every day too. Will like people ask me, when I walk into the office, they're like, "Oh, how's it going? How's everything?" And my response to them all the time is, "I'm alive. It could be worse. So here to have a
Right.
great
Exactly.
day." And it's
Mm-hmm.
and it's so easy. And I tell this to everybody. It's so easy. I live my life by the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. It's so easy to say thank you, please. How are you? How's your day? And it's like that's not even real estate specific. That's just being a good human. It's being nice to somebody
Exactly.
because you don't know what they're going through and you don't know how much you can impact them just by just saying thank you. So yeah, phenomenal, man. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hear you guys talk about this, and when I hear Will, and Mike just brought up the words real estate, right? So far, here we are, we're 13 minutes into this podcast, and we really haven't talked about real estate per se. But guess what? We have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what real estate is, it's actually it's a relationship business. You're
Absolutely.
not you're not selling stuff, you're not buying stuff. You're building relationships. And if you don't get that, you're going to be spinning your wheels for years and years and years. And you're going to be one of those people that say, why haven't I caught a break? Well, maybe the reason you haven't caught a break is because you're not spending time with the people that you're trying to buy or sell real estate from. You're not spending time to get to know their story and get to know like where they're from and what makes them click and what makes them get pissed off, and what their background is. So I in my day job, right? I'm in a sales organization in my day job, and I always preach to my team, we're not selling anything. You're not salespeople. You're relationship people. You need
Mm-hmm.
to get out there and sit down with your clients, your customers, and get to know them, get to know who they are and what makes them tick, and listen. And like Will said, it's wisdom, dude, that you're dropping. Be appreciative for the time that they're giving you. I'll tell you real quick. For me, I'm in my day job, I'm a sales guy, right? And I do go to lunches with people. I spend time with people. And it used to be when I first got into this business, I always had my phone, man, strapped to my belt, like it was right there because I felt like, oh, I'm important, and if I get calls, I gotta respond to these calls. But now I leave my phone in the car because I'm like, this lunch with this person, whoever they
Mm-hmm.
might be the last one for me. So might as well make the most of it. Might as well try to learn something from this person, and the world can wait because I'm with you right now. And I think all of us as real estate investors, as military veterans transitioning or already in the business world, I think it's a valuable thing to realize that whatever business you're in, you're not in that business. You're in the relationship business, and you need to get
Mm-hmm.
to know that person on the other side of the phone or on the other side of the table. Um, I think it's so important. And for me in my career, it was transformational.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, man. That's just spot on, and that's advice for anybody in the world: real estate, non-real estate, service member, non-service member. This is a relationship business. It's all about how you treat people, and you would be amazed, right? And I know Spiros can speak from experience from just sitting down and talking to somebody who has a for sale by owner sign out, getting them to know their story, and 3 months later, you're taking down 20 plus units with a multiple investors with fantastic financing that are
Right.
changing people's lives. So all it takes is a simple conversation and being honest and being nice to people. So it's not rocket science here.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Making that connection. Yeah.
Right.
Making that
And
connection
I
with
want
folks.
to add on to one thing you said. Um, I have a feeling we're not going to talk too much real estate, like straight up in this podcast.
Oh, we're,
I
we're
mean,
going to
who
put you
knows?
on the spot. Don't you
No, we're
worry.
gonna
We're going
get
to
you
put
there,
That's
you on
Will.
the
fine.
Come
spot.
on.
That's fine. But I do want to say that, like you said, everything we're talking about and this little plan I have, like that goes for anything from selling real estate to selling tomatoes. Like it, it doesn't matter what it is. It's principles that will just make you a better person and make you inadvertently a better businessman. And like it just like when you can apply these principles, the possibilities just they're endless. So
For sure. For sure. 100%, man. Let's talk some real estate. Will,
all right.
tell us I'm curious, genuinely curious, the pre real estate agent Will knowledge of real estate, and now the post few months under your belt real estate agent Will, the differences and kind of your take on real estate and kind of where your mind is at on the whole process right now.
Okay. So it's night and day. Like that's like such an understatement. Before I was a freshman in college, before I had my spring semester freshman in college, when I realized I wanted to get my license, and my cousin Christopher, he practices down in Jupiter, West Palm Beach area,
Hmm.
and that's what brought it to my attention at first. Um, got into it, and then there's this thing I like to call the real estate shock. So I spent probably 3 months getting my license, which I was doing school at the time, but I wish I would have gotten it a little bit quicker. It was a bit of a lack of discipline on my part, but I got it done. I passed my test the first time, which I actually have another small story about that. Um, and so I knew nothing. Like this is when so Elbow Creek, Dad, you got into real estate investing. I think we determined in the same month as I started getting my license, and it was completely mutually exclusive events. Like I
Yep.
wasn't like, "Hey, Dad, you should get into investing, and I should get my license, and we could be this like super sick team." Not at all. I got my license, and I don't even know if he knew about it or not. And he got into real estate investing. I don't even know if I knew about it or not, or if it was like whatever. He was going through the white feather application process. So, anyways, when I get my license, or just before, like maybe a week before, he tells me about this Elbow Creek deal that he like found and just driving on his way to work. And I was like, "Oh, sick, some business right off the bat because I can help with this. I can shouldn't be too hard, right?" At this point in time, I didn't know what a contract looked like. I didn't know how to write a contract, which for someone not listening, that might sound like like who knows how to write a contract. I don't know what people are listening think, but in my 18-year-old mind, I was like, oh, it shouldn't be too hard. And then I remember me and my dad sat down at the kitchen table one night right after I got my license, like 2 days after I got my license. And just so you know, the real estate course doesn't teach you crap about real estate. It teaches you about the history and the law of it, and it's completely non-applicable to anything you'll actually do. But it's necessary. So, but me and my dad were sitting down and we wrote this contract based on the deal that Justin did. Come to find out, a couple of days later, we were writing down a commercial deal on a residential contract, and we did it completely wrong, and we sent it over for review to my team, and they were like definitely laughing at us from behind the scenes. And it was just embarrassing, but it wasn't embarrassing, but it was like it should have been embarrassing. But me and my dad are prideful, so we were just like, now these guys don't know. Anyway, we got some help from my team, and they basically did the whole thing for at least like my part that I was responsible for, like writing up the contracts. They basically did all that for me. And this is kind of a funny story because I got on the phone with this guy named Mr. Sherrill. Shout out to Mr. Sherrill. He's awesome.
How's it going,
I didn't
Pete?
know him at the time. Yeah. I didn't know him at the time. I didn't know anyone at the time because I just joined Keller Williams as a solo agent, and there's less structure than you could ever believe when you join a real estate team. Like you think one thing, like you think you're going to go in and get all these people who are teaching you stuff. Not at all. You get your license, join a brokerage, and then what? Nothing happens after that unless
And
you make it happen.
And by the way, let me interrupt you real quick, Will. I just want to give everybody kind of Will saying, hey, we're just sitting at the dinner table, right? Working this out. This is a $5 million deal, right? That Will and I are like, hey, why not? Let's give it a shot. You know what I mean? Let's figure this out. And so Will's actually done some of the work to, get his real estate license. So he's got a little bit of knowledge, right? I had signed up for a real estate accelerator like you, Mike, and we hadn't even started yet. I mean, I think we were still in the, the prerequisite reading or whatever. So what Will's about to tell you, this phone call with Pete Sherrill from his team, it was one of these things where Will's looking at me like, well, what do I say? What do I do? And I'm like, I don't know, bro. Just get on the phone and figure it out. It's like fake it till you make it. And I'm like, here, as soon as Pete Sherrill answers the phone, I like walk away. I'm like, oh, I need to go take care of the dogs or something,
You're
So
telling me in the middle of doing $5 million deals. Hey, Dad, pass me the ketchup while you're at it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know where the ketchup is, dude. I'm getting out of here. It's on you.
All right.
So
listen
back
to
to
this.
you. Back to you.
Listen to this. So I'm on the phone with Pete Sherrill, who, for some background, he's a commercial broker at Keller Williams, and I'm telling him, I'm being so transparent with him, kind of. I'm like, hey, we have this big deal, and I was like, we had Justin's deal behind us, which I didn't have anything to do with because I didn't have my license, and Dad, you were just an investor in that. I was like, yeah, we know how to do it all. We've done this before. We have this big team that was established like over a decade ago, and
we have a lawyer, Mike Marchman, on our team.
Yeah, man. We got the whole thing. We got the whole shebang. We're good, bro. Appreciate your time. I'll talk to you later.
Exactly. And he responds to that, and he says, okay, we'll help you out for 50% of the cut. And that's on top of that. Listen to this. That's on top of the classic Keller Williams 30% cut. So
what?
I'm giving away 50% of 70% of what I would earn. And in my head, I have to give credit to my dad for this, because at first I was like, I don't have a leg to stand on. What am I even doing on the phone with this guy? Like talking about a $5 million deal. I was 18 at the time. And I'm pretty sure my dad said something to me like, I don't remember. It was like, dude, just ask or something like that. And I got back on the phone with him and I was like, you know what? I don't think that sounds good, actually. Like, I'm the one with the deal here. I'm bringing this to you guys. I know I don't even know how to spell contract, but
That's
I'm the
awesome.
one with the deal.
That's freaking
And
awesome.
in a 5-minute conversation, I negotiated it to get to 75% for me. So I basically earned an extra 25% to myself,
Mhm.
and which I did the math and it translated to $20,000. So from a 5-minute conversation, I got $20,000 more dollars than I would have had
Oh, shoot.
just because I asked. And I'm gonna be so real with you too. The amount of work that they did in my place that I should have done,
Mhm.
they deserved way more than 25%
Right.
of the cut. Like literally all I did was bring the deal and sit there and pray about it. Like I genuinely didn't write the contracts, our attorney did, and it just and that I just want to roll that into another principle of success I have, and it's to
Step
just ask
3.
sometimes. Not
Will's step
necessarily.
3.
It's like sometimes you need to be bold and just ask because you never know. Like if I didn't have what my dad said where he said just ask, if I didn't have that, I would have been $20,000 less than
Right.
what I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And it goes for any principle. Like sometimes you just gotta ask, and it's gotta be you just need to be bold and talk to people and like and that's such a big part about it. Like you were saying earlier, we're not in the real estate business. We're in the business of talking to people, reading people. Um, and if you can learn how to interact with people and be genuinely like have that be your best feat, you will be you will be so well off in life because you will have a gazillion really good friends or even just a couple really good friends. That's all you need. You will have really good connections everywhere you go. And that's like the most invaluable thing you can ever ask for. And so to answer your original question, Mike, I knew nothing about real estate, and diving into the deep end with that deal and learning what I did learn, being on the phone with people I had no business being on the phone with, it helped me learn a lot in a really short amount of time. And I believe that's the best way to learn is one by doing and two by doing more than you like ever should have any business doing. Like if there's any way possible for you to dive in and just burn the bridges or burn the boats, whatever that saying is,
Mhm.
then that's my suggestion to anyone listening is like burn the bridges, man. Like
Yeah.
it like if you have to roll a six, you'll find a way to roll a six. But
Right.
if you have a way out, you
That's
might not.
powerful. It's powerful, Will, right? Because you make really good points in a couple things. One, I share your sentiments when you say, studying with a course to become a realtor doesn't really teach you anything about real estate. It's actually being on the phone with that guy, talking the language, being in a commercial
Mm-hmm.
deal, looking at the words on the contract. Similar to when I'm studying in law school, you know, I can't it can't teach me how to be a lawyer. I have to go in the courtroom. I have to do the arguments. I have to see what the law is. I have to be in it to experience. And it's the same thing with real estate. You have to, if you want to be in this, you have to immerse yourself and you have to go out there and talk to realtors like Will, look at properties, learn the language. And like Will said, don't be afraid to ask. It's part of the process. If a house is listed for 100K and you can afford 60K, ask them for 60K. What's the worst that can happen?
Completely agree.
You're going to be in the same position you're in now. But if you don't ask, you won't know. So I agree 100% with you, man. And look at your situation yourself. Just by saying a couple words, you made yourself 20K, easy, just because you asked. So I mean, if those
Mm-hmm.
aren't words of wisdom for everyone around the world, I don't know what is. I mean, that's fantastic.
So,
And a
Will,
way to I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead. I
I
had
was
a
gonna say a
question, but
way to all right, save that thought. I was gonna say a way to kind of roll that into real estate specifically, so hopefully I can give like a little nugget of wisdom to the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you kind of said it. If you have a property for 100K and you can
Mm-hmm.
afford 60, just ask because they might spit in your face and laugh at you, cuss you out, whatever. But who cares? Like who really cares?
Right.
That just shows their character and you brush it off. But
Right.
it's like just I can't stress it enough. Like just ask.
Yeah.
Don't be
just do it.
scared of
Yeah.
what other
I'm with
people think about you.
you. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you,
What I
brother.
was going to ask you to do, Will, is just maybe briefly describe that deal, the Elbow Creek deal, and what we did, and what it looked like, and how it's going.
Okay. So essentially, from my perspective, we started, like I said, it started as a little sparkle in my dad's brain, and then he so generously wanted to bring me on board, which I think in the end actually paid dividends for you because
Huge.
we had like Marla, for example, and Pete to help
Huge.
facilitate the whole thing. But essentially, what it was is on his way to work every day, he would drive by on US 1 these 12 new construction townhomes, and he saw a sign, and correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, at any point.
Yeah.
He saw a sign that said seller financing, and I think you must have heard that in like one of your early classes or something, heard seller financing equals good. So
Yeah.
I think you called and you just asked for 2% financing. There's probably a lot of negotiation and like back and
Sure.
forth that I'm missing, but at the end of the day, you asked, just to tie in what we're talking about, you asked and you got 2% financing, which interest rates right now, kind of crazy. So 2% is crazy, and your goal was to go as little out of pocket as possible. So you took the wholesaling route, which for those who don't know what wholesaling is, it's just essentially, let's say I have a property for sale. My dad gets it under contract for $100,000, and he knows it's a really good investment. He got it for a really good deal. And then he flips the contract to Mike for $120,000. So if Mike wants to pay $120,000 for the property, then my dad can do that totally legally. And my dad keeps the extra 20K. Mike gets the investment property of his dreams, and I sell my house for whatever, a little bit
Yep.
less maybe than I could have, but maybe I was going through a divorce, or maybe there was a death in the family. Like, you have to play the situation, and that's how you get those kind of deals. So that's what a wholesale is. It's just essentially a contract flip where the wholesaler keeps a fee for himself. He doesn't spend any money out of pocket. So that's a wholesale. And you did that with 12 individual units. They're all the same. The two units, or I'm sorry, 2 buildings of 6 units each.
Yep.
And you wholesale them to 12 individual investors.
Yep.
And you keep an assignment fee on each and every single one of those. And then from my perspective, where I come in is I represented the buyer, which in this case was my dad, and I keep a 3% commission, and then that's obviously before the splits and stuff like that. And that's like a decent amount of money when you're talking about a $5 million deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's been a long process, and the entire time, you can ask my dad, the entire time I told him, not because I'm a pessimist, because I'm actually probably the most optimistic person I know, but I was telling him, I was like, it's not going to close. Or I didn't say that, but I was just like, I'm not expecting it to close. I'm not, because I didn't want to get my hopes up. I didn't want to get attached to something that wasn't permanent. I was like, something could fall through. I told him, I was like, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. It's, and I mean, we're past that now. Like, we're set to close early November,
Yep.
and we're past like inspection and all that stuff. But it's been months. This started in June or July.
Yeah, it's
I don't remember.
started in June. Yeah, so it's definitely taught me, and I'm not the most patient dude in the world, but it's definitely taught me a lot of patience. So that's another nugget I think for everybody to take away is patience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the background on this deal. Essentially, is
cool.
No money out of pocket from either of us, and we both are going to make a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah,
and
that's freaking
that
awesome.
should show people like you don't need money to invest in real estate. You need to be bold. You need to ask. You need to have connections. You need to network. You need to do all these other things. You need to work on yourself, like first and foremost. You don't need money necessarily.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking
That's
of
awesome. That's awesome.
connections and network, Will, tell us about your recent networking experience that you had.
All right. So we went to Las Vegas, which I'm like eternally grateful I got to go because it was a white feather event, and I'm not a veteran like you said earlier, so I really had no business being there. And I know I'm never gonna be as cool as any of you guys, and I
you're
genuinely mean that.
you're a veteran through association. Well, come on, you
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't downplay yourself.
yeah. But so I got to go to that, and it was like life changing. It was a great conference, by the way. But I met a kid there. I met multiple people there. I met a dude who was in the Navy, and I just talked. Like it was so far to my comfort zone. I'm not a talkative person. I don't like talking to people that much. I do it anyways because I've grown to like it a little bit more, and I know it's what you need to do. But it was out of my comfort zone to go and network with these people out of thin air. And long story short, he called me a week after the conference and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a property in Jacksonville." This guy's out in California, and he just remembered that I was a realtor in Jacksonville just because I talked to him. And
Hmm.
he called me, and I got 2 weeks after being on my team and with minimal experience in residential, especially before, I got my first deal under contract. And that was, so just a little bit of background. I'm not saying this to boast. I'm just showing this because I want everyone to know what God did for me because I know I definitely didn't do it. Um, I'm on the #1 real estate team in Northeast Florida that's a whole other story, by God's grace. And I'm also the youngest person on that team. And I also broke the record by a pretty large margin of fastest to get the first deal under contract because it took me 2 weeks of being on the team before that happened. And they were telling me that it takes other people like 2 months.
Hmm.
And it's just, and I don't think I deserve that at all, but at the end of the day I do because I seek God. I don't know if you're a religious person, Mike, but that's like become a really huge part of my life because all this recent success that I've had and even just my personal development and my mentality, like I know that doesn't that's not me, you know what I mean? That's God just showing me how I can be more like him. And I think his way of showing me that he exists because I've always been like a Christian, but I've never really practiced it.
Hmm.
I think his way of showing me is like I'm gonna shoot you with a bunch of success and hope that you're not too stubborn to think that you did it by yourself. And I know I didn't. So
Sure.
that's that's that, yeah.
That's super cool, man. And like, listen, you are where you are at life because you've worked hard, you have a great family, and like you're exactly where you need to be. Don't ever think that you're being cocky or that you shouldn't be on a #1 team. Yeah, you belong on the #1 team because you're out working everybody else and you're putting the deals under contract faster than anybody ever has at Keller Williams. So you're right where you belong, man. And don't ever, age is just a number. You outwork anybody who's in front of you, and you can. I mean, from talking to you for 37 minutes, I could see how the sky's the limit for you, brother. So don't like you
I
are
appreciate that.
right. You got the future ahead of you, and I could talk to you for forever. So this is awesome, and it's a sense of really rejuvenation in me to just get back after it and start just hard work and doing the little task in life to get you where you need to be. So yeah, no, this
Hmm.
is this is fantastic. Spiros, what do you got? You got any questions?
No, I'm good. I've just been enjoying watching Willie be Willie.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, this is so cool. I'm so happy to be a part of this. Will, before we close this out, I want to ask you one final question.
Okay.
We're about at the 40-minute mark here where our listeners have got to listen to some really good, powerful advice, some motivational advice from somebody who's super young in the game, who has obviously, as everybody can hear, a bright future in the world, both professionally and personally with his relationships, in and out of real estate. Will, tell me what your goals, what your aspirations are. Where do you see Will when we have you on the podcast in 6 months, a year and a half? What should we expect? What should the listeners expect from Will?
I'm so glad that you asked this. I I believe heavily in planning it out, having a vision board, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so I have like a really strong idea of what I want to do. And I've I've told this to like a very select few of people, and this might even surprise my dad. Like I don't go around like sharing this stuff. Um, my dream life, and this isn't a 6 month down the road thing, this is like more later in life. My
Sure.
dream life looks like I'm up on a stage publicly speaking to people and around the world, traveling and showing people who need hope and giving them hope. People who need Christ, giving them Christ. That's like, and it's funny because public speaking is my biggest fear. So it kind of like, it's scary, but that's what, that's the dream that God gave me is I want to be, I want to be a vessel for him to shed light onto other people who need it, because I've seen people close to my life who need stuff like that and who need hope, and people who just don't have that like automatically, and they need
Mhm.
someone to be there and, you know, show them that there's a will to live, there's a reason to live, what their purpose could be. And I want to be that person. I want to be that like medium through which, so I want that. I think it'd be cool to be like a best-selling author and teach those same principles. um I'm really family oriented person, and I think the greatest gift that my dad ever gave me was not direct, but it was a perfect exemplary of how you should treat, like how he treats my mom. So I think like that's, I'm very family oriented, like I said, and I want to have a family that looks like our family, because it can change someone's, like it's changed my life. Whereas I can't tell you for certain that I would be this way if I grew up in a different family. So I want to find someone who like has the same values as me in that aspect, and who I can love 1,000% and treat them how my dad treats my mom, because it's been like a blessing to grow up and watch that firsthand. And so definitely like a great family is in my future. Um, let's see. And I'm gonna be so real with you. I like materialistic things, like as shallow as it may sound, but
As every
I don't,
19-year-old should. Come on, Will. Don't. It's okay.
I don't, yeah, I don't like it because I think it's cool. Like, I don't care about Lamborghinis, but for me, it's a symbol of like what you've done, what God's done for you. And I want that stuff because I want to show other people what God did for me. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's that's what my dream is. I'm gonna be a public speaker. Remember the name, and I hope I can be on a bunch of podcasts in the future. And because I feel like I do, I feel like I've been blessed with a lot to share with other people. I could literally sit here and talk to you guys for 6 hours, like
Yeah.
no joke. And so I hope that's what I pray for every day, is that I can be put in a position where I can share this stuff with as many people as possible.
That's so awesome, man. That's awesome. Hey, well, when you become famous, don't forget where your public speaking career started, right here on the Freedom Fries podcast. So make sure you stay
Boom.
loyal to us.
Yes, sir.
Boom.
Of course.
Boom.
I never forget. And like
Oh,
I said earlier, I genuinely appreciate you guys having me on. It's been like so fun, and this is such a, like, even though it's my dad, it's still a dream of mine to like be able to come on a podcast, and it's gonna go on Spotify. Like, that's crazy to me. I'm so excited. Like, just the fact that someone can go on Spotify and look up Will Nifakos and like see, or like look up Freedom Fries and see,
that's
like listen
awesome.
to me talk about things I'm fired up and passionate about.
That's freaking
That's like
awesome.
surreal to me, and I'm so appreciative that you guys have me on.
No, please, man. The pleasure has been ours. We're super excited to have you here. We're very thankful for you. We're all busy these days, so we're thankful for you taking time out of your day and sitting down talking with us. I know you guys are probably 2 rooms apart, so but I really appreciate it, Spiros. I know you're speaking from a dad myself. Will is exactly what I want my son to be like when he grows up. He's 2 months now, so Spiros, you got
Oh,
a
Thank you.
you got a really good kid there, and this has been fantastic, and I can't thank you enough, Will and Spiros, for sharing your son here on the podcast. And Will, I promise you, we'll get you back on here so we can get a 6 to year month update and see where how you're doing, and hear all the great
I
things that
love
you're
it.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
real
brother.
quick, Will referenced that he was in his closet, right? He's not joking. It's actually, so he lives up in Jacksonville, so he's actually 2 hours away from us.
Oh shoot,
But
okay,
he's in his office is in his closet. So
that's
we
awesome.
affectionately call it the cloffice.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
It's the cloffice.
Oh
So
shoot,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Will, we
God's
can't
work
thank you.
happens in here.
I love it, man. Thank you again for joining us. Until next time, everybody, this is Freedom Fries Podcast with Mike and Spiros. Stay tuned. We'll have some great more guests coming on here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you guys listening.